First thing I want to talk about as we progress in our weaves is how to move the 2x2. So last week we talked a lot about running straight through, and as you start to turn them and make them narrower, don't turn them that direction. Your dog will enter with the first pull on the right instead, and that's incorrect. We want them to be able to enter with the first pull on their left, so if you turn them this way, then they'll be able to enter properly. And then here's some photos showing progression of those, so you can see the spacing on them, and then they're slowly getting closer into a line. You can also work with even up to 3 sets so that your dog is able to work on even more. So here's 3 sets pretty closely in a line, and you can see how they are starting to resemble accurate weaves. Also just wanted to re-go over some channel methods. So like we talked about last week, start with them wide apart, and then you're going to slowly move them in. If you move them in too fast, you're likely to see your dog is going to start making some mistakes. An option to help prevent some mistakes is to take some chicken wire or fencing or some weave guards, and you are going to put them on the outside of the weaves so that the dog has to run straight through. So from the first pole, curving out to the left to touch the third pole, and then from the second pole, curving out to the right to touch the fourth pole. And as your dog is successful, you can take those guard wires or those fencing off as well. Another great way to practice getting your dog ready for the teeter is to practice having them on another squishy kind of object that's going to move around. So this is a large couch pillow, and I'm just getting my dog used to the fact that something he is stepping on is moving a little bit. So if your dog is too worried about a tippy board, or if you don't have access to one of those, even practicing with getting them used to being on a squishy pillow, especially if you can get them to sit or stand on that, will help with their confidence when they get to another moving object as well. Other options for getting your dog used to some movement are to sit in a rocking chair with your dog. You can use a canoe or kayak, sit in it. If you have a hard board, you can tape a pole under it. Taping a pole will make it nice and secure, and then they can work on tipping that board. You be creative with what you can do to get your dog used to the fact that things are moving, and just make sure that the objects are safe and secure so that they don't have any accidents. We're going to talk about the serpentine. So the serpentine means that your dog is going to jump that direction and then come back towards you and then head back over the other jump. So they're going to alternate which direction they're jumping. The jumps are usually all in a straight line, and there are multiple ways that you can handle this, which makes it a really nice thing to set up. If you just have 3 brooms and 3 different kind of pots or cones lying around, you can set up these 3 jumps and practice a lot of different handling techniques. Right here she's doing a front cross, having her dog come in front of her and then switching sides to make it easier to handle. She's doing another front cross here, but she's just doing it in a different place. So that front cross is really helpful to get your dog onto the right side that you need them on, especially depending on how the rest of the course flows, but there's multiple places that you could use that. Again, another front cross there. You can watch how she runs, watch her feet, so you can practice with your own dogs. Right there, that's what we call a blind cross, where she takes her eyes off her dog for a minute. If your dog really needs a lot of support on the course and you can't really just trust them to go to the jump, blind cross is not ideal, but if your dog is a little more advanced and you have the ability, your dog is fast enough, you might need to add that into your toolbox of ways to handle the serpentine as well. Get another blind cross so that her dog is on the right side when she is finishing that serpentine, so that she can take off for the rest of the course the best way. Our dogs are way faster than we are, so the the better handling techniques will let you send your dog out further and keep you on a smaller line so you do not have to run as far and move as far, because your dog is going to beat you in 100% of those cases when they want to. There's another blind cross, just in a different location. And finishing up with an example of that front cross and then controlling that last turn so that the dog is successful on finishing that serpentine. And make sure you're practicing on both sides. Here we have a aerial visual, kind of like your course maps of what that serpentine will look like. So you can start with some more mild angles. You don't have to have the jumps all even to each other, so that your dog can start learning how to turn and you can start learning how to handle them. So this is one example with the black lines being the jumps and the blue line being the path that the dog would take. And then once you have those lesser angles down, the ideal serpentine to practice is when they're all straight. So it's much harsher angles for the dog. It takes a little bit more practice. It's a great goal to have to work towards, but you can definitely start with some lesser angles first. And this just gives you an aerial view of those jumps and how they were set up on those examples we just showed you. A way that you can practice the rear cross is another cross that you can do, is to start by having your dog in a sit stay, back up so you're behind your dog, and then as you walk to the other side of your dog and their head turns, you're going to walk forward and treat them. So we want the dog to understand that they are going to just use their head to find us rather than actually turning their full body around. So once again, an easy way to practice that rear cross is to start by having your dog in a sit stay, back up behind your dog. As you cross to the other side behind your dog and your dog's head turns, move forward and back to your dog's side and reward. Practice moving from the left side to the right side and the right side to the left side. And this will be useful if you have a fast dog and you need to send your dog ahead and then cross behind them, and they will know how to turn their head rather than spinning around to look for you. Here's an example showing how to work on that rear cross that we just talked about. Backing up behind your dog, and when they turn their head, moving forwards. You can see me doing it with Wendigo there. His little brother is just running around being annoying and helpful in our training session, but you can see with Wendigo how that's supposed to look. Finally, here's just an example of a jump wrap with an actual jump. Last week we talked about using a bottle or a cone to practice that wrapping behavior, and now you can see it with a jump. So start with the dog on one side and your treats in the other. In this case, dog was on my left, treats were on my right. As the dog jumps, I can turn towards my dog and reward with that opposite hand. And in this case, dog starts on the left, dog starts on the right, treats in the left, and then I turn towards my dog and switch sides as my dog goes over this jump as well. Practicing this will give you a really nice way to handle any sort of jump wrap on the course and give you a really nice foundation for when that challenge comes up.